Hi, welcome back to my views and news. Some new stories from Ethiopia. First two news stories are from the Amhara region. I am covering the conflict there ongoing between Fano militia and Ethiopian National Defense Force. But mostly we overlook the impact of this conflict on the people of the Amhara region, on Amhara regional government, on Ethiopian federal government. Two news stories for you showing how this conflict is affecting the region and Ethiopia as a whole. Secondly, Tigray viewers, TPLF's Central Committee has held a meeting amid rumors that TPLF's top leadership and Tigray interim government are not on good terms. What was discussed? What happened at the meeting? Party has issued a statement after the meeting. What is surprising for me is that statement is soft on Eritrea and Amhara, but statement wants action from the federal government and Tigray interim government too. Details in this video. Firstly, viewers, yes, Fano fighters and military are involved in clashes in different parts of the Amhara region. Fano fighters say they are fighting to protect their people. They want to ensure that Amharas live in peace, that they are fighting for the existence of the Amhara people. Government, military, they say that these are not Fano fighters, they are bandits. They are killing innocent people, destroying property. So, conflicting narratives have been launched by the two sides. But this conflict in the Amhara region is a very costly conflict for the people. A government institution has shared details of how many students in the Amhara region have been registered for the new academic year. This registration tells us that millions of students in the Amhara region could be left out of educational institutions because of the conflict in Amhara. The government institution says that 2.7 million students have been registered for the new academic year. And this is the lowest number. Estimated students, estimated number of students who should have been registered is around 6.2 million. So, around 3.5 million students could not be registered. It means they won't be able to start the new academic year. This is how the conflict in the Amhara region is affecting the people of the region. And still, some viewers say, Sajid, there is no war in Amhara, there is no conflict in Amhara, you exaggerate things. In a few areas, Fano fighters are involved in clashes, and this group can be easily handled. Don't play up the conflict in Amhara. For weeks, rather since the start of this conflict, I have been saying that this escalation in the Amhara region is going to have regional and national consequence. Regional consequence very evident. 3.5 million students left out of schools. Regional government nowhere to be seen. Regional security structure collapsed. Farmers, their farming activities seriously disrupted. Government employees not receiving salaries. Why? Because the territories where Fano is in control, their government is not paying salaries to the government employees. I can go on and share details of the crisis in the region. Secondly, Amhara regional government, Ethiopian federal government, they'll face other consequences too of the conflict in Amhara. Lalibela and Gondar have been top tourist destinations in Ethiopia. We know that on religious holidays, people from across the world, they visit Lalibela, they visit historic rock churches there, and they visit Gondar too. Now when Mescal Damira are going to be celebrated in coming hours, can you imagine that tourists would like to visit Lalibela and Gondar? Gondar airport was closed 2 days ago. I think flights resumed yesterday. But on day before yesterday, a flight for Gondar was cancelled. Lalibela airport was under Fano control a few weeks ago, but then military re-entered Lalibela. Even after that, I think last week there was exchange of gunfire in Lalibela between security forces and Fano fighters. Security forces had deployed artillery pieces on high places, and from where they were firing shells towards Fano's hideouts. Who will visit Lalibela and Gondar while the two cities are not safe and tourists' lives could be in danger? If tourists are not able to visit Lalibela and Gondar, it means that the revenue which was generated due to tourism isn't going to come now. Amhara regional government, Ethiopian federal government, both will suffer financially. I can talk about other issues too, which are surfacing because of the conflict in Amhara, just these two news stories. And no one can deny that tourism in Lalibela, religious tourism, Gondar affected, students affected, civil servants affected, security structure collapsed. And still, problem is that so far, still there is no hope that the two parties can resolve the conflict. I have not seen start of any effort, meaningful effort, tangible effort to conclude that this conflict can be resolved through negotiations. Rather, both sides are pursuing military option. Secondly, we have Tigray, where we know that Tigray interim government has been a target of criticism from opposition parties, from some diaspora to TPLF. Some TPLF stalwarts have also been criticizing Tigray interim president in their private discussions. TPLF has held a meeting, a central committee of TPLF has held a meeting after that statement was issued last night by the party. TPLF acknowledged weakness in internal administration of Tigray. Means TPLF criticized Gatachow's government after the meeting around 24 hours ago. Getachew is in a difficult position. We have been saying that he is on good terms with federal government. TPLF's political future is uncertain because Nabbe did not restore TPLF as a political party. So TPLF does not know whether it will be allowed to contest the regional and federal elections or not. TPLF status so far is not that of a political party. Gatachow's government is on good terms with federal government. TPLF is trying to be back in political circles. This is one of the reasons behind conflict between TPLF leaders and Getachew. So, party acknowledged shortcomings, deficiencies in Tigray interim government, and that there is more effort required for unity within the party, TPLF. Thirdly, the party called upon the federal government to restore TPLF's political status, which is one of the primary concerns of the Tigray People Liberation Front. Fourthly, release of Tigrayans who are still in prisons. Fifthly, return of IDPs, which is a thorny issue between Tigray and Amhara regions, because the IDPs will return to disputed territories. Raya, Alamata, Koram, Amhara, Volkaya, Sagadev, western and southern zones. No agreement between Tigray and Amhara and groups operating in Amhara. And TPLF called for extension of the mandate of UN Inquiry Commission. This is a very interesting point. UN Inquiry Commission on Ethiopia has submitted its report to UN Human Rights Council last week, and it accused obviously Ethiopian government, Eritrean military, Amhara forces, Tigray fighters of grave human rights abuses committed during Tigray conflict. Extension of the mandate of this commission is under discussion. The Ethiopian government is opposing the extension of mandate. Tigray's three opposition parties called for extension of mandate of the commission. TPLF is also calling for extension of mandate of the commission. What is Tigray interim government's position? Does it want extension of the mandate of UN Inquiry Commission? Because Sadkan last week wrote a letter to Minister of Justice of Ethiopia. He proposed some amendments to indigenous transitional justice mechanism. He did not clearly mention UN Inquiry Commission mandates extension. So here I think TPLF is playing its cards in a very smart manner. It is aligning itself with opposition parties, putting pressure upon Ethiopian federal government. The federal government wants termination of the mandate of commission. Tigray interim government largely silent, though it says that indigenous transitional justice mechanism cannot serve the purpose. It cannot deliver justice to the people of Tigray. Overall, TPLF did not strongly criticize Amhara regional forces and Eritrea in yesterday's statement. Main criticism is against Ethiopian federal government, to some extent against Tigray's interim government. Why? Because TPLF still not eligible to contest elections. And TPLF does not want to align itself with federal government against Fano fighters. TPLF wants restoration of its political status, and then it will decide what to do. Let's see how federal government responds. I think if TPLF status is not restored as a political party, we could see more tension between TPLF and federal government. TPLF might try to remove Getachew. It could happen. Either Getachew will take sides with the TPLF and ask federal government to restore TPLF, or he might be in trouble. Already there are tensions between top TPLF leadership and Tigray interim government. Getachew's government is not a very strong government. There are several centers of power in Tigray. It was admitted by Sadkan too. When he spoke a few days ago in Makale, he said that those who are in top positions, they should be held accountable. They are the ones who are resisting change and resisting government's efforts to ensure merit and transparency in Tigray. Thank you for watching.